Hello, everybody. Welcome into the next installment in our pre-draft series, and we've got wide receivers on deck. And joining me today is Mr. JFK 3, I think. Still, have we gotten to 4 yet? Or are we still on 3?
We're still on three.
All right,
Good
all
to
right.
be with you, Steele.
It's great to have you on. So yeah, you were interested in jumping into the wide receivers group, and we are going to do this one not so much a ranking because both of us may or may not be interested in a wide receiver. So we're just going to tell you guys we're higher on than everybody else. That won't reveal anything. Uh, uh, so that's what we're doing. We're going based off of the PFF board as updated as it is now. So we'll share the ranking that they've got on PFF now, and then that were higher on them than where PFF has them. So I will let you do the honors and kick us off. Who is wide receiver one for you? Or well, not what. Who is the first wide receiver you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's easy to do the wide receivers because I think this is our fifth draft and I haven't drafted a good receiver yet. So it's good to get that out. It's good to get this as being mine because the other positions I can actually draft at.
It's a little double
um,
bluff here. You know, you're due, but you got to get everybody to get away from your guys.
exactly. Um, So just a little on my kind of philosophy going into this. I'm really looking at three main things for a guy. I'm looking for good production, good athleticism, and a projectable NFL role. And that basically boils down to like, do they do at least one or two things really well that gets them getting on the field? Um, so the first player I have is number 81 on PFF's board. It's Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Um, he was extremely productive last year. Missed some time with injury. Only played 8 games, but still had over 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns on the year. Um, and had almost 1,000 yards each of the previous 2 seasons as well. Um, Athletic testing was very good. Over a 9 RAS. Near high watermarks on almost every category. And I really see him as a legit X in the NFL. He has elite vertical ability, elite downfield playmaking that'll get him easily on the field every play, in my opinion, or nearly every play. Useful in medium and long range, especially, which every team could use. And yeah, he's 81 on PFF, which is a mid third. I would put him probably late first, early second grade for me.
He was a guy I also had higher. We would have fought over him if we had more overlap on our initial guys, but yeah, I thought he was extremely impressive against man coverage. Nobody could keep the ball out of his hands, and that offense really leaned on him in the games he was there. Obviously, putting 1,000 yards in, what is that? Basically 60% of a season. I guess counting bowl games and stuff, pretty close to that. Is obviously insanely impressive for him. And it was, I mean, he had good field against zone too. It's not like he didn't do anything there, but I mean, he was arguably the best in man coverage on a per route basis. Definitely going to be up there. I think it helped the offense kind of gave him good opportunities, but put up a 95 grade against man for PFF. And so, yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I have him high second relative to his 81 grade or 81 ranking.
Mhm. All right, your turn.
Alrighty, so which Iowa State guy goes first for me is always the debate. I'm gonna go with Jalen Noel. I've got him in the second round. I think he's gonna project as an excellent slot receiver. There's a couple of these guys here, but I think what differentiates him from me is why he'd be the top guy I see as a true slot only. Because I do think Ibuka is more of a Z. I think he can play on the outside. Just want to get him in motion a little bit to get off the press, but I think that Noel has excellent feel up the seam, vertical, tracking the ball, something that a lot of slot guys don't have. And I think he's got the juice to pay those off, as well as he's just a natural hands catcher as working the intermediate stuff that you'll expect from your slot guy. So he's small, but I mean, you can work with that at the next level. And I think he's a real gamer who will make plays down the field for you as a dynamic slot receiver, worthy of taking in the second round.
Yeah, no, meets all my check boxes as well. Almost 1,200 yards at Iowa State last year, and 9.7 RAS, which is extremely impressive for a 5'10", 194 player.
He put up 1,200 yards with a anchor of their offense being somebody else on the X receiver side, and the quarterback play being very suspect at times there at Iowa State. Um, Not necessarily the biggest fan of the old quarterback there, but we'll see. Maybe he develops there. But yeah, he just consistently won for them, and as the season came on, they realized what they had in him and started giving him more to do, especially down the field, and that really opened up their offense. So, yeah, couldn't have really done too much more in this final season to get him moved way up the board.
Yeah, and you'll have to wait a little to talk about that other anchor because next up for me is number 100. Did you say what Noel was on
Oh, sorry.
PFF's
Yes, he
board?
was 86, so he's not too far down from there. I'd have him, another 30 spots higher. So not a huge jump because they've raised him 30 spots already. But I was always on the Noah train.
Yeah. All right. The next guy up on my list is number 104 on PFF's board. It's Tez Johnson out of Oregon. Uh, he has been remarkably consistent and productive as a receiver. He had 900 yards, 10 touchdowns last season, and before that he had almost 1,200 in 2023 with Bo Nix throwing him the ball. Um, his RAS is in the sevens, which would be bad if he were an outside guy, but he's another guy who's gonna be exclusively a slot player. Um, and I see him. He has great change of pace and great short range separation, and he projects for me as a move slot kind of guy. I I I would put him at a late second, early third round grade for me, behind Noel because of the athleticism difference in the RAS. But I think Tez Johnson with the right quarterback could easily be 1,000 yard receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I think his screen production is also a very good floor for him as a sort of gadget guy. If you're looking in the third round and you take a guy who's good at gadget plays, that's a pretty good floor. Regardless. His speed is better than he tested. He's a more of a build-up guy at times, but he was in the drills. Like I think he put up the fourth fastest like top speed in the gauntlet drill. So like he shows it doing football moves more than he did on the 40. So that's obviously a good sign for him. My concern is just that he's small. He's not gonna be able to make the contested catches. Is he gonna deal with that injury trouble we've seen a lot of these small guys deal with? So I don't have him quite as high as you do, but I would take him end of day two still, which is higher than where they have him ranked, which is early day three. So I'm kind of with you that he's higher than I'd have PFF at him, but for probably the same reasons PFF has him lower. I don't have him quite as high as you, but I see it like the playmaking and the consistency is 100% there. And I mean, it's valuable to get in the end zone. He's done it 20 times in 2 years. There's not a lot of guys that can put up that kind of touchdown production. So I see where you're going with that 100%.
All right.
So, yes, for the anchor on the other end of my Iowa State guys, Jaden Higgins, who I think is a first rounder, just a true X wide receiver on the outside. He is excellent at the timing and the efficiency of getting off press. And they ran him on just straight go balls a lot. And I think that's a waste because I don't think that's really his main skill set. But he still performed really well in contested catches on these go ball situations. Graded out really well against man, doesn't drop the football, and when you watch him run these drills and run the 40 with all of the receivers lined up, he still looked like one of the best movers in the class despite being a full-size wide receiver. I think he's 6'2" or 6'4". Jeez, I forgot how tall he was. 6'4", 215, and still was one of the best movers out there. Through the gauntlet, smooth through it, staying down the line. So for me, I'm just not sure what he's missing to check off to be a potential number one wide receiver at the next level.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. Uh, big numbers at Iowa State. He had 2,200 yards in 2 years and 15 touchdowns, and like you said, extremely athletic and just a massive player. You feel comfortable putting him on the field at a minimum. It'll be interesting to see with him and Trey Harris. They seem pretty close players. It'll be interesting to see who goes first in the draft and who has the better career.
Yeah, I do see them pretty similarly as well. I give Higgins the edge because I think he's a better athlete, who's a bit more natural against press. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it is Harris over Higgins for that X wide receiver role because Harris was just so good against man. Like you want your X to be able to beat that press coverage and dominate, and then that was yeah, he was awesome at it.
Yep. All right.
And then Higgins, I didn't say where he was either. I'm bad at this. I'm doing bad podcast hosting right now. He was 49th. So that's why I have him 15 spots higher. But as you get higher up, it's obviously a bigger
Correct.
swing.
If you're projected, if we have you going number one and you're number five on the board, that's a bigger jump than sixth to seventh round.
Yep.
All right, time for my third and final guy. Uh, this guy is not ranked on PFF's board at all. I think they go to 350, so he's at least below that. It's Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas. Um, he had he had a really good season this year, and he had a really good season in 2022. Yeah, I really like these guys. If you can't tell, I like these guys that they have multiple years of just high level performance in the college game that can, uh, you know, you don't want a guy who was just a 1 year wonder and then he comes to the NFL and he's outclassed. So he had really good seasons in 2024 and 2022. Over a 9 RAS, which he's a boundary guy. So that's really what you're looking for moving up the boards. Um, he's not a guy you project. I don't even know if he goes day three, but maybe he's priority free agent type of guy. But I see him hanging around in the NFL as a sort of as a, a jump ball guy and he good with being a possession receiver. Um, I wouldn't take him uh, earlier than maybe the sixth or the seventh, but I think he can still be an NFL receiver, which is a lot higher than the you know practice squad grade he's got on him.
Yeah, not even being on the board, obviously. Yeah, looking at testing numbers at least. This guy is a legit athlete, 100%. Sub 7.3 cone at 6'4". Some impressive stuff. Yeah, with the production, I'm just not sure how he hasn't made it onto the board at all. Um,
Yeah, production at a, I mean, it would make sense if he was down there if he had this level of production at like Central Arkansas or something, but he's at Arkansas. He's in the SEC playing, future first round picks at corner every um, every other week.
yeah, that's yeah. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what's missing here. Yeah, even the next gen stats has his production score 19th in the class. His athleticism score they have at 25th. So I'm not actually sure how they get there. Based off these numbers, I would definitely put him closer to top 15 in that too. So yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what's going on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a look at him, I guess, because that's yeah.
Definitely a guy worth at least taking a flyer on late.
Well, like the Lance Zierlein, right? It's a long-limbed, tight-hipped wideout with average feet and lack of separation talent. But it's like tight-hipped, you ran a sub 7.3 cone. Like it's pretty hard to be tight-hipped and turn that well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely take a look at him. I'm gonna add him to the watch list here because that's a what do you mean? That doesn't even like line up. So he just must be awesome. The underwear Olympics, I guess.
All right, last
Look at
one,
you!
Steele.
Look at you giving me homework. I don't like that. All right. So I'm higher on this player than PFF is. but not than I've seen from a lot of people. We're gonna stick in the X side of things. Kyle Williams. Um, he was a guy that when he was sitting in like the 200s consensus, I was like, okay, well, I like him better than that. And kind of everything's come out, and I've gotten deeper into it, and I'm just not sure why he's sitting so deep. 160 on PFF. I've got him like a late day two grade here, because it's kind of the same archetype we're talking about with a lot of these guys. He's not quite as tall, but 6 foot, 186 is still good enough size, and they're at the Senior Bowl. Like, we joke. There's a joke going around like a lot of these guys are running the TikTok routes, and like, oh, they're just cutting 7 times to get open or whatever. And he was playing with urgency, and getting great separation in those drills. Again, they're slanted to the wide receiver. You should be able to get open in those, but it was the way he was getting off the press coverage with urgency to get to his spot. Like, I think that that's going to play as probably more of a sacrificial X, the guy who gets the bad targets or is the clear out guy. But I think he's got good enough athleticism to do it, and he put up, he's at 2,000 yards the last 2 years, 20 touchdowns. So again, talking about a guy putting up touchdown production, putting up good numbers overall, and a 62% contested catch rate, like he should be able to play that X wide receiver role, even if he's not featured, and still put up that production, moving the chains, that sort of thing. So I don't see why consensus is down on him, and like comparing him to like I am Maynor, like I think he's better than I am Maynor. At the X stuff, except for blocking, which I guess you give a good boost to Aymaner for, but I think he's just a more dynamic option out there at the X spot in your offense.
Yeah, like you said, one of the best at scoring touchdowns last year with he had 14 touchdowns for Washington State last year. And yeah, it seems like PFF is really low on him compared to where a lot of people are, at least on, I don't know, the NFL draft server. I think a lot of them would probably put Williams top 100, which is more where he should be. It'll be interesting to see where he actually gets picked in that, just because we listed so many other great receivers as well. But
Yeah, it's a hard
yeah,
class to be a lot higher on other people because you can like I can look at this and say like, oh, Jalen Royals at what do you think 104? Like, oh, he's awesome, and I look at him and he's like 90 for me. So it's like, okay, that's like the same ballpark. Like, I like these guys a lot, but there's so many of them this year that it does make it hard to have true standouts. But there's some rankings that still, I mean, even in that context, like, why is Kyle Williams that low? Trey Harris, like, we're really doing late third for Trey Harris, that sort of stuff.
yeah, he was the one that stood out to me the most for sure on that board was Trey Harris.
Which we both
Uh,
picked him, so it was clear that we both thought the exact same thing looking at the Harris one. It's like, okay, like, do we not watch the same Ole Miss tape here? Everybody's watching it for Dart anyway, so you gotta have seen him.
I guess we'll have to see who has the higher pick in the second round in this upcoming draft.
I got a
See
pretty
at the
low
end.
second round pick, so we'll see. It doesn't looking not looking too good right now. We'll see. That's a damn Jair
All
got
right.
me. Should have not done it. We're gonna do it. You can have him back, Acorn. Gotta, gotta go get Trey Harris. All right. Well, we are on a good pace. I usually yap too much, so we're at 20 minutes. Did you want to expand on anything more in the wide receiver group, or do you feel like you've gotten enough of your guys taken too early to call it here? Maybe we can talk. Maybe start being haters. If you had a hater take you wanted to get out.
Yeah, I don't know. That was basically all I prepped
Yeah.
in regards to guys being higher on. Why don't you give a guy you're lower on first, and then
Okay. All
swing it.
right. All right. I'll give you one. I mean I'll give you two. I don't like either of the Texas wide receivers as much as I've seen. Bond at 104 now. I don't know if I'm necessarily that much lower on him. I saw him obviously get a lot of hype before he ran it. I still got Bond lower in the 120s, 130s. Um, but I think the speed plays better than his test even did. Like I think he's legitimately very fast, but I don't know if he's got really anything else going on as a wide receiver right now to feel good about his projection. So you're just hoping for a fast gadget guy who uses that to get open. I don't think he's got that feel to press the advantage of his speed in the route stem to get open. I think he plays at one speed, which a lot of these fast guys do run into that wall where it's like they play very fast, but so fast that it's predictable. You can play for it. They can't stop. That's how I feel about him. And then Matthew Golden, we're seeing like wide receiver one, wide receiver two if you count Hunter, stuff for him. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't think he did a very good job paying off of his opportunities, and I can see blaming Quinn Ewers for that. Like if you tell me if he's awesome, and you just say Quinn Ewers really sucked, I will buy it. But it's just hard because a lot of these guys have bad quarterbacks, and I feel like he put up rather pedestrian numbers. Like you see the things, it's like his yards per route run would be among the bottom three first round picks ever. His contested catch rate is good but middling for a guy that's going to try to be this archetype. He doesn't look like he's 4.3 fast. He looks like he's like 4.5 fast on tape. So it's like, is he just kind of one of those guys that ran a really good 40 but doesn't ever use it? Can't do it in pads. So I don't know. I would just love to see him have done something particularly excellent. Like I don't think he sits in zones well to be his floor. And then I don't think he separates well enough against man for that to be his floor. So I'm a little bit at a loss with him. I still got him as a second rounder. Like I still think he's got enough tools to pull it all together. But this top 12, pick range is just way too rich for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Texas receivers. Bond was getting top 20 discussion at one point, and then the combine happened, and now he's sitting around the fourth. That feels more right, but he just seems like, yeah, like you said, fast, nothing else. Like he's going to be just washed out of the league, honestly, is what it feels like. And yeah, I agree completely on Golden. Um, I don't understand his meteoric rise, really. Uh, like Higgins and Trey Harris are both guys I think are far better than him. Um, the production, you just like to see more. That's really it for me.
But yeah, it's I don't want to trash on too much. I've still got him top 50. Like it's not like I'm sitting here thinking he can't work. I just don't understand what he's done
he's getting
other than
he's
run a
getting
four
top
three.
15. He's getting top 15 discussion at this point.
Yeah, like he's getting it's a 4.3, and since that it's been a whole different discussion about him. And I think before it was even a fight to get him into the top 50. So it's like it's just that guy this class. It's like okay, are we sure? Are we sure we want to put our top 15 pick on him? It seems like it might happen, but who knows? Especially thinking of all the receivers in the past 5 years that didn't become top 15 picks. Like none of the Justin Jefferson obviously was a little bit of a weird, but I mean CeeDee Lamb was still seen super highly, and he didn't go top 15. So it's like I think he was 20 or something. So it's like yeah,
Mhm.
all these receivers in these past, we had Addison and Zay. Like I'd have picked both of them over him 100%. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like those guys fell into the 20s. So what's different? What am I missing? I keep and every time I like see some people being really high on him, I'll try to pick up an extra game. Like, oh, this is his highest grade game. I'll watch this, and I just keep coming away with like, I don't know. I don't know what changed from what I saw earlier, and so it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, definitely agree there. Right. I've got my guy I'm lower on. Then I don't I don't know this guy's PFF just because I had it written down for the other guys, but I don't think you listed the PFF for either of those guys. So
Oh,
I'm
PFF
a,
for Golden is 22, and one I did list Bond as 104. Just relative or 110. Sorry, or 109. Wow, I'm bad at numbers right now. 109. 104 is Tez. Sorry, 109 is Bond, but I still have him 120s. So not that big of a difference, but some people I've seen being very high on Bond still.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. My guy that I'm lower on is Savion Williams out of TCU. Steele hit me with that PFF number.
Let me find it. 93.
93, so late third. This is a guy who 5 years in college, and the production is very, very slim. I mean, last year they oddly enough used him a lot as a running back, but as a receiver, he's never had more. Last year he had 611 yards, and that was his highest for the team. He had a NFL quarterback in Max Duggan in 2023, who he still only got less than 400 yards with. Um, his RAS, he doesn't have a RAS because he only has the 40 and height and weight, um, which those numbers look great, except that's exactly what he does. He's tall and has good speed, but he's not good at playing the wide receiver position. Um, doesn't get very open. Doesn't make a ton of plays. It's hard for me to see a role for him and I would compare him to Bond, where both those guys just feel like they could easily be washed out of the league just from at peak they feel like run down the field and take a safety with them at best.
Well, yeah,
Um,
so that's why I do have him with a fourth round grade in the end because I do feel very similar with Bond, but at the very least, Williams has put up good contested catch numbers. That's the only thing he does well. But at the very least, you can put him in the role where it's like, well, you're out there to take the press and run vertical. And then if we have to throw you the ball in desperation, you are pretty good at coming down with it. That's, I think, his role is that. Takes the press, does a decent job getting off of it, gets open every once in a while, but for the most part, he's fast and will catch the deep ball. That's my role for him. It's not a very
yeah,
high
he's
role.
no, I agree. He's mostly just a distraction guy, kind of like I think how Indianapolis used Alec Pierce, where they just run him on 30 go routes a game and just have other receivers work around him, but not a guy I would take as high as he's being projected, and probably probably not until at least the fourth, like you said, maybe the fifth.
Yeah, I think it's actually probably pretty close to where I graded out Pierce. Honestly, is where I put these guys. I bet I had Pierce probably a third because I think Pierce at least had a little bit more um, feel for the routes. So it was a little bit more efficient in his steps. But yeah, I pretty much the same role as they put him in Indy, especially early on. Maybe last year they broke Pierce out a little bit more, but early on, yes, it was just like you get to run 30 go balls and we might throw you the ball once. Have fun. And
Yeah,
so if he embraces that, and I think he could be a pretty good gunner if he can tackle. I don't know if you don't know if he can tackle, but he'll get
yeah.
down
I
there
mean,
fast. Like he can force fair catches. That's I mean,
yeah, I think he'll be an NFL player for sure, but
which some of
not
that's
when he's
tough though because he's
typical.
kind of he hasn't been the man, but he's been starting wide receiver, got a lot of snaps for a while. It's like, is he gonna embrace the dirty work of being the guy I described? I think that's the biggest wild card. You just don't know.
Yeah, we something good to ask him if we could do interviews, but
How do you feel about being wide receiver 7? uh, oh,
yeah,
that'd be a
we're
rough
gonna
one.
we're gonna list you as gunner on the team website.
Get special teams ace here. But we will put you out on the offense and let you run 20 go balls and not get the ball. What do you think about that? All right. Well, we can go ahead and wrap it up here. We had to extend it and get a little bit of hating out there, of course. It's always good. It's good for the soul to get a little hating out there. But thank you for joining me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
We look forward to seeing what you cook up. Obviously, you've had a little bit of a busy off season anyway. We're getting back. Kansas City Chiefs dynasty's back on, baby. All right.
I
Well,
believe.
I believe. I believe. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Um, we'll keep things rolling. We'll see how many more shows I can get in this week. Hoping for a bunch, because I got to space this out for the whole 2 weeks for the draft. So, but yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one.